Hello there, I'm Scotty, and you're not, and it's time to review season 3 of Stranger Things. It's almost my bedtime time, so I may be a little bit tired, but just stick with me here. After this season, I think it's official. So, first season, I liked it, I enjoyed it. Season 2, I got a little more into it, but I officially, after season 3, I love this show. I do. I had so much fun with this season, man. This was so much better than the first. Like there was so much fun with the cast. Overall, I think it was handled a whole lot better than the second season, where you just had that whole episode that takes away from the entire plot because we have to have a side story with Elle and her telekinetic sister that doesn't come back in this season, strangely enough. From what I hear, they don't come back at all, which, a lot of people have said, oh, it feels like that episode was like a backdoor pilot. Could have been. It very much could have been, and they just not bringing in, I don't know. But, so what's the story for season 3 of Stranger Things? Well, it's been a few months now. It's now the summer of 1985. There's a new mall, the Starcourt Mall, which I don't know how that was built in the time. So the last time when season 2 ended, was it Christmas? Wasn't it? And so by summertime, it's what? Now we have a new mall just built there. But people are starting to act strange, differently. And eventually it's revealed that the Mind Flayer has found a way back into our world, thanks to some Russians who are secretly underneath the Starcourt Mall. So right away this season kicks off with people experimenting, trying to open up the portal, and I went, what? First I thought this was Hawkins again. I'm like, they were shut down, but are they still doing experiments somewhere else? And no, it's found out they're Russians. I'm like, people just can't leave it alone. They're trying to open the portal again. How the Russians knew, I don't know, but they did. What I liked is that once again we do the thing we've done, where we have separate stories all converging into one by the end. And so you have, first it's Nancy trying to run a story about crazy rats that are eating chemicals, and then it turns out people are eating it, but they kind of coalesce together with Mike, Elle, and Lucas, and Max. They all kind of come together at one point, and you also have Hopper and Joyce, who are investigating stuff, which leads to the Russians, and they capture one named Alexei and go to Murray Bauman of all people, and there's that whole story. Then you also have Steve, Dustin, and Robin, one of our new characters for this season, played by Maya Hawke, the daughter of Uma Thurman and Ethan Hawke, as they find the Russians' secret hiding place within the mall and the experiments that they're doing. So that's basically the 3 stories. It does start kind of weird with, like, I kind of agree with Hopper, because at the beginning, like, Mike and Elle are like a thing. They're like kissing and stuff, and it's like they're like way too fast. Like he's freaking out. The door needs to be 3 inches open, and what are you doing? And it's like, so I don't think he overacted at all. As a parent, I'm not a parent of a teenager yet, but as a parent, I think, I think he was in the right. I mean, not necessarily forgot on him, but more what he does to Mike, basically telling him, hey, you need to back off. And so Mike stays away, which ends up breaking them up. So maybe that's not the best thing to do. But yeah, the mall is used as a good setting. If you like sailor outfits, well, Steve wears a sailor outfit the entire season, basically, because he's working at this ice cream shop at the mall with Robin, and they're in the middle of their shift when they go looking for, and they find the Russians. So they're in their uniforms the entire time. The 80s stuff also, I think there's, because they explore more. They go into this mall and they go to things. There's more 80s stuff thrown in. This is 1985. This is the height of the 80s, basically. They have Back to the Future playing in the movie theater. You hear lots of music that, in the 80s, 80s music. By this point, 1985, it's a good year for 80s music. It doesn't get better, in 86, 87, and 88. And so, but yeah. And I think I'm still on the good. I'm just going to go for it because it's getting late. And I just want to this done. But yeah, if there's one thing that I would say is that I'm a little conflicted, and that's Will. You see, the last 2 seasons, Will has been a victim of the Upside Down, of the Mind Flayer, of the Demogorgon. He's been a victim. And this season, they decided not to do that with him, and that was good. But at first, I thought they were going to, because once the Mind Flayer puts this new version of, like, a just weird monster version of itself through, he can feel it. Like, he feels this sense on the back of his neck. And when it first happened, I'm like, oh no, we're doing it again. So what's going to happen to him? No, he's just sort of like a warning signal, basically. And I like that. There's also a running gag throughout the season with Dustin and this girl he met at camp, whether or not she's real or not. He tries to use this new radio thing that he made to talk to her, but he can't get it to work, and so they think she's not real. Then at the end of the season, and one of the funniest gags, she is real, and they sing the Neverending Story theme song together before she can give him the code that will help Joyce and Hopper get the keys to turn off the machines the Russians are using to open up the Upside Down. And it is a bit of a twist, I guess, when you think, like, you see Russians think, oh, they're trying to open the Upside Down through Russia, but it's revealed they're in Hawkins, so, yeah. But yeah, Will, he's sort of just there now. He's not really, like, he's part of the group and everything. What I didn't like about his characters, they decided to go in a route where he's sort of whiny because, Mike and Elle are hanging out, they're together, and then Lucas and his girlfriend Max, which they both sort of break up, at a point. But they were concerned doing other things than playing D&D. Even after they break up, they were concerned about what the girls are doing and playing D&D, and so like they're getting older, and like he just comes off as whiny to me. And then, like, for the rest of the season, he's just sort of there with everything is happening. And the Jonathan and Nancy thing kind of leads to them all coming together. Jonathan and Nancy, like, every couple breaks up, basically. Like, Jonathan and Nancy, they break up. And then you have, Lucas and Max, they break up, I guess. I don't remember. I guess they do break up. I don't know if it's official or anything, but I don't know. And then Elle and Mike break up, but I guess they're sort of back together because they're making plans at the end. We'll get to that. And Joyce reveals that she wants to move out of Hawkins after what happened to my man Bob. And even when it's sad. It's like they go back to Hawkins' lab to make sure there's no one in there, and they show a flashback to Bob said, like, oh, you gotta show it again. You gotta show it again. And then there's this thing with magnets. They keep falling out of place and demagnetizing. And it's part of the machine the Russians are using at the mall. They find Alexei at the Hawkins lab. I don't know. And it's kind of sad with Alexei, too, because you grow to like him. He's this Russian guy. He can't speak other English. They go to Murray. He can speak Russian, so they speak together. And he kind of, he's kind of happy because he's like, it's not rigged. It's not rigged. He won a Woody Woodpecker thing at the carnival, and then the Russian comes and shoots him. And, like, they make it like he waits for a firework to go off so he can shoot him, but it's like he's got a silencer on his gun, so why did you need to? I don't know. But it's kind of sad because Alexei was so happy, and that's how you knew he was going to die. I'm just saying. Yeah, and I like the creature effect of the mind flayer creature thing that comes out and it gets bigger and bigger. And Billy. Talk about character development. Now, Billy was an antagonistic force in the previous season, but here he is full on villain, and it's not even his fault. He's the first one to really get taken over by the Mind Flayer, and he becomes like a main antagonist for them, like a human-like antagonist. Well, while all the other people get kind of consumed because the creature they're consuming chemicals so they can form this creature, and they're all going into him except for Billy. And Billy even gets redemption. We get to see some of his past when Elle tries to find out where he is and goes through his past. We see his mother. We see, stuff from his past. Why he's such a bully to other people, because his dad is a dick. We already kind of learned that in the previous season. So we kind of get the more softer side of Billy. And it's even Elle who talks Billy into fighting against the Mind Flayer at the end and standing up, stopping the Mind Flayer from getting Elle, because that's what it wants. And Billy is killed right in front of Max, which, or not right in front of Max, but Max runs out and sees that he's dead. And even though they had sort of a strained relationship, it is technically her stepbrother. They've known each other for a while, Family is family. So, yeah. And they do kind of tease that he and Mike's mom were going to do it, but she decides not to at the last second because she sees her husband asleep in a chair with her daughter, and it reminds her about her family, and she decides not to do it. I guess it's a good choice, but that didn't really go anywhere, and then when she tries to tell him, he's already taken over. So, yeah, more people dead in this season. And it was kind of light at first. Like, the first half of the season is kind of light on deaths. So, I know that James is doing the kill count for the Dead Meat channel on Friday. Kind of light in the first half. I was like, is there going to be any? And then by you get the second half, oh boy, there's a lot. There's so much. You might have needed help counting those. But they do put up a graphic at the end that says 30 killed. But if they count Hawkins, and it's 29, or no, Hopper, we'll get to that. If they count Hopper, then it's 29. And I'll get to the reasons why they shouldn't count Hopper, especially if you've seen season 4, which I haven't, but I've seen the trailers, so I know the truth. But yeah, it all kind of comes together at the mall. And the name of the last episode is Battle of the Tricourt, whatever it's called. Battle of the Tricourt. But yeah, at the mall. Everything just sort of, like, there's like a scene with Robin. Like, okay, I hate it in movies and TV when you have someone being interrogated, you're telling them the truth, basically telling them the truth, and they don't believe you. Like, they keep saying, who do you work for? And he's like, I work for the scoop place. And they punch him. Tell me the truth, quit lying. Who do you work for? I'm telling you, man, look at what I'm wearing. Like, they beat the shit out of him, and he's telling them, I mean, he wasn't telling the total truth, but he does work for the scoop place. I'm just saying, but they're like drugged, and so they act all weird and stuff. And you think this is going to lead to a romance, but they throw a curveball at you by revealing that, like, there's a scene when they're in the bathroom because they're looking at the ceiling of the theater, and they get all dizzy and they end up puking in the bathroom. And this is where Steve lets out his true feelings to her, and then she reveals she's a lesbian. So, gotcha. Now, again, this is where I'd say, well, you didn't have that. Like, they would, I mean, you had lesbians in the in the 80s, but they weren't out there as they are now. Like, it wasn't a time period where you could just be that, be a lesbian, be gay, be bi, whatever, and you'd be judged for it back then. It wasn't a free time like now where you can go out there and show your pride. There's a whole friggin' month dedicated to it for some reason. But, what you saying, back then it was persona non grata to do that stuff. So, the fact that she doesn't straight come out, but she's just like she was jealous, but not because she liked him, but because this other girl she liked him, and it took him a second. But yeah, and also Lucas's sister gets in on it because they have her. She's small enough to crawl into the thing. She keeps going to the Scoop's place to get free samples, which you can't do that. Like going every day to get free samples. Why? That I understand you want ice cream, but there's even a scene where they give her a whole bunch of ice cream to do this, and I'm like, yeah, you know that sugar now, kid. When you get older, this is what you'll have. You know what I mean? But yeah, like I said, we have this big battle where you have Murray, Hopper, and Joyce going down into the Russian area, and then basically the one group that went into the Russian thing have to go to Dustin's radio tower thing on the mountain and talk there, and the plan talk to them through it there, and then the plan is for everyone else to go to Murray's place in Illinois. But when they get out there, the cable, the wire, the transmission cable, I think, was ripped out by Billy, who's in his car, and so they have to go in, and there's this whole thing where Elle loses her powers, basically, because she's weakened. She gets attacked by the Mind Flayer at Hopper's place, and then when they're all there, she tries to go into the mind, she's attacked, and so there's little things in her. They take it out at them all in a horrendous scene where they show like cutting it, like Jonathan cuts in there, and then they show what she's trying to get it out, and that zaps her power. She has no power left. We see by the end of the season she has no powers. So I wonder where that's gonna go. But yeah, and they can't leave, so they're stuck in the mall, and they all eventually get out by distracting with fireworks, Lucas's plan, and being able to get out, and Billy sacrificed himself, and we're getting out. But Hopper and Joyce finally get the code to work thanks to Dustin and his girlfriend, but then Hopper gets sidetracked fighting this fucking indestructible Russian guy, who he throws into the machine, but it causes the machine to put like a electric laser thing in front of him so he can't get to Joyce. So Joyce has to jerry-rig a thing where she can turn it herself, and causes the machine to explode, quote unquote, killing Hopper. And we'll get to, but it is a sad moment, especially later. And this is when Paul Reiser's character and his people decide to show up. But they were called earlier, and it took fucking forever for them to show up. And finally get there, Murray and Joyce get out, and they, reconnect with their children. Well, with Will, and then Ella's looking for Hopper, nowhere to be found, and it's a sad moment. Joyce is looking at her. She could tell by the look on Joyce's face he didn't make it, and yeah, the last episode was long. Like, it was the longest one, was like 90 minutes or so. It was very long. It's very long. Like, the epilogue alone was 20 minutes. It's like, okay, we had like 10 minutes left after the whole thing was wrapped up, and they say that they have like a whole story about it. 30 people died, apparently. If they count Hopper, it's 30, but as we're going to find out, it's only 29. If you've seen the trailers for season 4, you know he's still alive. So, I'm just saying. And they do hint at it. We'll get to it. Yeah, I liked the season overall. Beginning of the season, Joyce is talking about leaving, and at the end of the season, she leaves with Will and Jonathan. Jonathan's old enough to stay on his own, but he's going with for some reason. He says he's got to be over 18, right? Because, like, they're talking about they graduated or something, right? They're out of high school. I don't know. But and they leave. They're going to California, I guess. And we get to... This is what takes so long. It's like we get to read... They play back Hopper's speech that he wrote to tell the kids, but he couldn't go through with it. To tell Elle and Mike couldn't go through with it, but we get to hear the whole shebang, Schlemiel Schlemago, House Pfeffer Incorporated about it, and yeah, it's kind of sad, but if you already know. Yeah, and they leave, and that's the end, except it's not, because then it starts snowing in the credits, and I'm going, wait a minute, let me cut to Kamstev, whatever it's called, Russia, where you see these Russian people, you go open the door, you go, no, not the American. That's a hint. The Hopper is still alive. And if you, like I said, you watch the trailers for season 4, you know he's still alive. I think the American is supposed to be Hopper. Don't quote me on that. We'll see in the next season. And they feed this Russian guy to a Demogorgon. So that's nice. And that's how I thought this was really good. I enjoyed it. There's more comedy in it than season 2. Season 2 is really dark. It has some dark moments. There's some really, funny moments in it. I think it was handled very well. This show was handled very well. I think it's done. It's gotten better and better with each season. So I can't wait for season 4. I hear a lot of people saying it's not as good. I don't know. I think people just like to make troll videos. I see a lot of videos saying, "Oh, Stranger Things failed," or "Stranger Things 4 is terrible," or "How Stranger Things 4 failed." And it's like, 1, not over yet. 2, I think it's just troll videos. People who hate the show and are just gonna bash it. I don't know. We'll see when I get to it. However, I am gonna wait. I've been doing these fairly quickly, but I'm going to wait until the last 2 episodes are released in July. Reason I'm doing that is because I don't want to binge all of it now and then wait till July and kind of forget what happened, because I already watched like half of season 1 before, like a couple years ago, and I forgot what happened, so I had to rewatch it again, because I thought about trying to figure out where I was at, and I said, no, I'll just restart it. And I know it's going to be like a month compared to 2 years, but I just think I'll just wait till July, do it all in one shot. So, yeah. And I have something to say before I go. There are other YouTube channels out there that are reviewing it already. And I don't understand. People are like, oh, Stranger Things 4 Volume 1 review. I'm like, why not just... Because what's the point? Why not just wait until the whole thing's over? Because essentially, I get if they split fair in half, where it was 9 episodes, and you get 5 one part, 4 another. Or even if there's just 8 and you get 4 in 2 parts. I get it. Do it that way. But you got, there's 9 episodes total, and you have 7 in the first half and 2 in the second half. I know they're longer episodes, but why? Only thing I think of is that you want to put content out for your channel. And I understand that, but just wait till it's all over, like I'm doing. Wait until it's all up on the Netflix and watch it all then. But yeah, this is pretty good, actually. I really enjoyed season 3. Binged it all in one day, too. Watched it from this morning after I recorded my review of the last full moon one, uploaded that, and then once that was uploaded, I watched it. I started watching it. I recorded an unboxing, which you'll get at some point tomorrow. On a Thursday at some point, I'll upload it for you. Yeah. Because I forgot to do it. I'm like, oh, I'll upload when I go to bed, thinking I wouldn't finish Stranger Things before it's time for bed, and I did technically, but now it's past bedtime, so I gotta go. But yeah, so yeah, you'll get that sometime tomorrow. But what are your thoughts on Stranger Things Season 3? Let me comment below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.